I will say the rumor is they've narrowed down the possible CEO search to somebody outside the company, but I think the bigger story is they are expanding the search beyond just internal candidates. So the rumor is Andrew Wilson from Electronic Arts is in the running. I've also seen some things saying that he's not the front runner, but he is being, somebody they are looking at in terms of replacing Bob Iger.
Yeah, so that committee that was put together, Disney Succession Planning Committee, is doing all of this work, and that's headed by James P. Gorman, the new chairman of board of directors. And yeah, so it looks like they're going outside the company to keep looking. I don't know much about Andrew Wilson. I know Jared did a video about this on the YouTube channel, so he may know more than I do. But I know that he was a contender. There's actually a couple more that they did not name in this specific article that we're talking about that they're looking at. But yeah, so I don't know. What do you think? Should they go outside the company? Should they look inside the company like they usually tend to do, I guess?
I have been saying for a while they need to go outside the company.
Yeah.
So the fact I've been saying for months, ever since, it's internally they were saying it's Josh DiMauro, Dana Walden, Jimmy Pitaro, and there's another person I cannot remember off the top of my head that were internal candidates. I've never felt anybody inside the company would be a good fit. And I feel like Disney needs new blood. I'm also not a big Bob Iger fan. I don't think Bob Iger's been a great CEO. I think he's bought stuff, but I don't necessarily think when you look at the parks and where everything's at with Disney now, I don't think it's in a great spot considering, where things currently stand. So I think outside the company is the way to go. Now, this James Wilson guy, I think his name James Wilson.
Andrew Wilson.
Andrew Wilson. I don't know anything about him personally. All I know is he is the CEO of Electronic Arts, which if you're not a fan of Disney nickel and diming, as they've been doing, I don't think he's the right guy because Electronic Arts is notorious for this in video games.
Oh, like upcharges?
Like the microtransactions that basically started with EA with like Battlefront's one of the games they did this with and stuff like that. So I don't know anything about him leadership-wise. I don't keep up with a lot of CEOs, but I don't think he's the only person for what. Now, he does have a history with Disney. Apparently, under Chapek, which I wasn't aware of this at the time, they were in talks to buy Electronic Arts at one point, and those fell through. And now they have, invested into Epic Games, so I suppose that's their video game way going forward.
Yeah.
But they also said in the story, it was from Wall Street Journal, that Iger had called the Netflix CEO, one of them. They have a dual CEO setup. Iger had called him, Ted Sandoris, I think. I can't remember his name. One of the co-CEOs of Netflix.
Okay.
Called him and asked him how it works for them and if they think it was a good fit for Disney. That's again what I've been saying. I think that is the best setup for Disney because if you look historically, you had Roy and Walt, and then you had Frank Wells and Michael Eisner. And I think clearly those were the best times for Disney when they've had that sort of setup. And I think Disney is such a unique company. You almost need somebody like, I view them as a theme park company that also has a streaming service and makes movies, because most of the money now comes from the theme parks. And if they want to maintain that, you got to have somebody in there that, I'm not saying they have to be specifically oriented toward theme parks, but they definitely have to have that as a mindset. So somebody, the Eisner Wells thing made sense because Eisner was, he was visionary-like. I'm not saying he was a visionary, but he also was aggressive, and Frank Wells is the money man. So you kind of have a yin and a yang situation. So I think that is the best setup. Now, you have to have people that have complementary strengths and are willing to work together. So that's something that can work. But they haven't upped that timetable. They're still saying 2026 when they're going to name somebody. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more rumors out there in terms of other candidates or co-candidates and things like that. But the co-CEO role, the dual role, I mean, you've got Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs. Is it Staggs or Skaggs?
I thought it was Staggs.
I think it's Staggs.
Okay.
I always forget. Those two, currently, they were in the running for the CEO position last go-round, and now they're over at Candlestick. I think it's Candlestick Media that they started. And they're apparently not in the running for this, although they've been consulting with Iger on some level. So I do think that's the best method for them going forward. But in terms of it seems like they're going outside the company, which I will just say on that front, I think that is a positive, because I think if Disney wants a brand refresh, they want to reset things. I think bringing somebody outside the company with a new vision, I think that would go a long ways with potentially the fan base and kind of like the way people kind of view Disney now. I think that would be the best way going forward. But
Okay.
we'll see what comes of it. But that was in there with Wall Street Journal and some other publications talking about that.
Yeah, very interesting. I guess we'll know more in like a little over a year. They said early 2026 is when they'll start.
I don't think you're going to see Iger extend his contract either, because this go round, it's not really up to Iger. That James Gorman guy is heading this whole thing up, and he seems to have the board, like they seem to be really looking at him. He's had a lot of experience in this realm, so it looks from the outside looking in that Iger doesn't have as much input as in this, which I think again is a good thing. So I think him heading this up and them giving this much focus to it, I don't think you're looking at a situation where Iger's just going to do what he did before numerous times and say, "Oh, I'm sticking around till 2028." I do think that he is, and again, he's not a young man. He's in his 70s, so he can't continue to do it. But yeah. So it seems like they're getting pretty serious about it, and well, I'm sure we'll hear some more developments as the time goes on. But yeah.
All right.